How do I do it? Nope, that's not how you do it. Let's go here. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go. Just setting up. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone who's popping in. Hi, how's it going? Good to see you. Nice to have met you in Awakenings just the other day. That's very cool. I'm just going to wait here for a little bit, wait for people to join and come in, and we will get talking about mediumship. So, yep. Hi, Tina. Yep, I remember. Hi, Miranda. Nice to see you as well. Hi, Maureen. How are you? Good to have you here in the live. I hope that today y'all will be thinking up some questions and things. Hello, Miranda. Thanks for saying hi. Anything you want to know about mediumship? Hi. Hi, Nina. How are you? Good to see you on there. Hopefully you all are thinking of questions, feelings, thoughts, opinions about mediumship or any kind of thing with your psychic development, mediumship, that sort of thing. We are going to be discussing things today, and I'm looking at my little list of notes here on what things I actually want to talk about. I don't know yet, but we're gonna do that. So, just gonna give it a couple more minutes for people to join, and then we will start. So, if I can find things, okay. Mm-hmm. Hey, Timothy, nice to see you. Always nice to have you watching and joining us today. Let's just see here as I'm looking at this. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okie dokie. So I'll just go ahead and start. So I am here at Awakenings. I am going to be teaching my Sunday night class, which is what I do every Sunday. I'm here at Awakenings Bookstore in Laguna Hills on Sunday nights teaching a mediumship development class. So I'm hoping that should you ever find yourself in the Orange County area, you might join and pop in and say hi. So I'm excited to be doing the usual. I've taught this class for several years, and so it's nice to be able to continue it because it's had a nice following throughout. So I'm very excited. Hi, Erin. How are you? Good to have you on here. So yeah, thinking of questions, but before we get to that, what I would like to mention is I will be doing a demonstration with AJ Barrera at the end of the month, August 30th at In Spirit. So get your tickets to that because I believe that there's like a cheaper if you buy them earlier or something. I don't know. It's something like that. But if you want to see me demonstrate, for those of you who haven't, I definitely recommend. And you should come. I think it'll be great. AJ has great energy, and he's very, very popular. So it's very, very likely that you will also enjoy him greatly. So I would hope to have you guys there for that. So that is August 30th, 7 to 9, in Spirit in Mission Viejo. That's where all that is happening. So I wanted to talk to you today about the ways that we can deepen our connection with the Spirit, because this is something that I often get asked, is how is it that we can deepen our connection with the other world, and how can I get better information, more information? And really the biggest thing that I can tell you is deepening your ability to feel and experience the other world, deepening your ability to blend with the presence of the other world. I think a lot of times what we end up doing is we have a certain way we think that the experience is going to be like, what it's going to feel like. And this makes things more challenging because I think we have an idea that things need to look or feel or be a certain way. We're supposed to hear things a certain way or experience them a certain way. But with mediumship, the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves is really just learn how to become still, how to become still, how to become quiet, how to quiet the mind and get rid of our own thinking mind. This is one of the most important things that you can do for your development. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Aaron. It's super important because when we're working like in mediumistic states, when we're working in any kind of state that's outside of this normal sort of way of being, we kind of sort of go into this almost like a daydreamy sort of state. It's sort of this like slightly disassociated self, which I think is a large reason why people with L have a lot of trauma in their past oftentimes end up being mediums and things like that, because they can do that disassociation thing pretty well. Hi, Nieves. And so interesting little thing there. When they've done studies on mediums, oftentimes they have some sort of traumatic sort of things happen in their childhood or to their parents and that sort of thing, which I think is really, really interesting. How, you know, your mediumistic or sensitivity can oftentimes be connected to, you know, your survival mechanism even. So I think that's always interesting. Which is also why it's so important for mediums, especially psychics and mediums, to really work on their mental health and their well-being. So this is just a little plug for that. That's super important part of everything, because I have known, I believe very much that your healing and your spiritual paths are two different things. I don't put those two things together. A lot of people do. A lot of people say, oh, if you're healing, then therefore you're more spiritual. And I don't necessarily believe that. I think these are two different paths and they should go at the same time, right? So I've known plenty of mediums where they're really great at mediumship, but their personal lives is shambles and they can't get things done and they have all kinds of personal sort of challenges with life. And it's super important for us to always remember that it's both of these things happening together. We want to really make sure we make our own personal development such a priority. I'm going on that little tangent here, but I feel like that's a super important part of deepening your connection, because really mediumship oftentimes brings us to our own self. It forces us to face our own reality, our own self, who we are, because every time that you have to trust and surrender and allow, it brings up all of these issues of fear, of anxiety, of anything that's hidden there. So basically, you learning to surrender, let go, and allow the spirit to work through you, you have to actually develop the ability to surrender and let go. And all of that is going to come out in your mediumistic unfoldment. So I often hear, you know, I've had people in the past ask like, well, how does mediumship help heal you? I'm like, well, it forces you to deal with you, because when you stand up on that platform, you have to now give a message, and any sort of personal inhibitions, anything that keeps tension or fear or anxiety, all of that is going to stuff up your mediumistic awareness. Absolutely. So it's incredibly important for mediums and psychics to really work on their healing path as well of their own just personal being. There's no shame in needing to develop and heal yourself. I think sometimes people have this expectation of just because someone is very spiritually connected, that somehow cancels out their human part. But I think we often forget that we're all about balance. It's about balancing the mind, the body, like the physicality. It's the other thing that mediums forget a lot about is the physicality. That's such a part of your energetic systems, as well as like working out your physical body, taking care of the physicality as well, especially with the work that we do, which is oftentimes sitting and meditating and being quiet, which is great, but also remember there's a balance to that. There's that active energy that we really want to make sure that we're running and clearing and making sure that all of that's happening. So I often see with particularly spiritual people that their spiritual self is much more developed. Oftentimes their emotional self is very, very developed as well. And what I find is their physical self is probably the least. Oftentimes they just kind of let that go, which I'm definitely guilty of, but I've also realized how important that is to balance our mental health and our mental awareness. So all of these things go together, all of these things work together. And the more that we can clear and work out what we need to clear and work out within ourselves, the better off we're going to be as someone who can help other people, right? So we're almost like thinking of this as our what is our baseline? What is it that we are filling up our cup enough so that we can then be there for other people? If we don't have a full cup, how can we support others, right? And so that's super important to remember here. Let's see here. Hi, Melissa. It's nice to have you on here. So super important to do all of that thing. So understanding the self, that's one of the biggest and most important things we can do in the lifetime. Understanding how and where we keep within ourselves the blocks to experiencing and knowing more love. I think that's a huge part of it. So to go back to more of like, how do we develop our mediumistic selves? It's very much learning to become still and become quiet. All of these things that I just went on a tangent for, but although it's an important tangent, all have to do with you kind of getting out of your way, dealing with the things that are going to be stifling you when you do start to develop your mediumistic awareness. So learning to quiet and still the mind. I always say this 1,000 times, and I'll always say this over and over and over. And those people who work with me, those students of mine will also agree and tell you themselves that one of the biggest and best things that you can do to develop your mediumship is sit in the power. This is such an important and integral part of your development. Any of the most amazing mediums that I know, who happen to also be some of the most amazing mediums in the world, all will tell you the same exact thing, that it's actually sitting in the power that develops you. And it's that act of learning to still quiet your mind, become receptive, that builds the power so that you can work, you can get more clear information. Why do we get more clear information that way? Because the more that we blend and connect with the spirit, then when we're on a platform or we're doing a one-to-one reading, we are very familiar with the feeling of that spirit person, or the feeling of how spirit comes and blends and works with us. That is the vital part. I know so many people are always like, how do I get more specifics? How do I get more, information? Well, the way you're going to do that the best is by surrendering yourself to the process of the unfoldment of your mediumship, surrendering yourself in the moment to the presence of the spirit and the experience that you're having right then and there. Because mediumship isn't something that happens where we have to think or imagine or go or look for it. It's something that happens in the moment, in the present, when we are there with the spirit. I know for some people, they can experience spirit before they have a reading with someone, which I think is totally real. That totally does happen. You can, just the other day, I had a reading that was coming in, and as I was finishing up with one reading, I was sort of in that open awareness and became aware of this gentleman that I knew was with the next reading. However, when I sat in front of the person for their reading, I didn't just quickly draw on that person because I know that they're there. I made sure that what I was doing was being in the moment with that person that's in front of me, and being open to the possibility of whatever is going to happen, right? Because if we take something that we had before, we're not actually in the moment with what's happening now. And the spirit may be bringing someone different, right? So it's super important for us to learn and develop that ability to be in the present, in the moment, with what's happening in that moment. Not what you got before, not what you got before you stood up on the platform. It's not about that. It's about what did you get just as you're ready to finish that sentence as you're speaking to this person. It's such an important part to your mediumistic understanding and development, because we don't want to be, oh, I had this person and now I'm going to try to drum them back up. No, it's about what am I experiencing right now? I hope that makes sense to everyone here. So definitely want to mention that. So really the biggest key is the way that I would say the biggest way of deepening your ability is deepen your understanding of the spirit. Deepen your understanding of your connection. When we sit in the power, we create a capacity within us to deepen our ability to feel the spirit, experience the spirit, know the spirit. When we deepen that ability, then our awareness starts to open up and we deepen that part. And so all of these little tiny steps of just learning how to blend deeper with the spirit when they're working with us is actually the thing that develops us the most. Right? It's that ability. So that when we're sitting in front of someone, we know what's happening. We know what's happening with our energy, right? And so it's so important to really develop and understand your own power, your own energy first. Because if you can't understand yourself, Why is it that we think we're going to be able to understand the spirit communications through, space and time, through some higher plane of existence? We need to first understand what our energy is doing. What is our power and presence doing? And we can't begin that process until we learn to quiet and still the mind. Yes, we can have random experiences of communication. We can have random connections with the spirit world, and that's very normal and natural because that's what we are. We are spirits. Of course, we can connect with spirit. However, if you want to really learn to become, I guess the lack of a better word, a master of your abilities, I would say you have to develop an understanding of yourself and your own energy and your own power so that you understand, how is the spirit world working with me? Because how they work with me may or may not be the same way that they work with you. And it's this sort of mindset of kind of changing your perspective from like, oh, this is an active thing I have to do, to changing it to a space of, I'm just going to follow this spirit. I'm just going to follow the power and the presence that comes to me. That is a very different thing, because now we're learning to follow versus trying to get the information. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because that's super important to understand that concept. There's a difference between trying to go achieve and get information and versus surrendering to the spirit and the experience that you have with them. I hope that's making sense to people, because it's super, super important part of mediumship. Because oftentimes what will happen is we get sort of stuck in these unimportant things that don't feed the communication. And for those of you who have never done mediumship before, you may not understand what exactly that means. But when you are connecting with the spirit, what you find is that there are certain ways of connecting and getting into that communication that's actually going to empower the communication, meaning it's going to become easier, stronger, clearer, versus other ways of connecting where it sort of stops or it stays very, very trickling in and those kinds of things. And that's one of the benefits of working in a circle environment where you have someone who is developed, who is understanding of what's going on with someone when they're working mediumistically, to be able to identify, here's what you're doing that is kind of stifling this up. Oh, here's where you're going into your head rather than just moving with the experience. Or here's how you're interpreting the information rather than just giving what you're getting. And so having a good teacher who's able to actually identify sort of the blocks, I find speeds things up for people, because it's kind of hard when you first start out within mediumship or psychic work. Because as you kind of move into that space, especially if you're brand new to it, it sort of seems like this void of just information or void of experiences that you can't quite make sense of, because you don't know what you're supposed to be paying attention to. Has anyone ever experienced that feeling of, especially in the beginning, it's like you sit down and I'm saying, okay, I want you to get a message or get something for your partner, and you sit down and you're like, okay, well, my eyes are closed now. What the heck do we do? And so you're sort of just searching for whatever, and you don't know exactly which thing is what you're supposed to be paying attention to or not, right? So that totally gets you all kind of, messed up there. But that's why it's so important to develop under the guidance of a well-developed and knowledgeable teacher. One thing you have to keep in mind is that there are mediums and then there are teaching mediums. So there's mediums who are fabulous mediums, but I have worked with some that were amazing, really good mediums, and then weren't that great of teachers, which is something to keep in mind. You can be a great medium, but maybe you don't quite know how to convey these things to other people, So you want to be with someone who is a teaching medium as well. The other thing is, as you're looking for a teacher, I do definitely recommend is watch how well they do when they're on the platform, or watch how their work is, because the work should speak first, because obviously that person has an understanding of something. Then you have to try and see, is this a good fit for me? Does this person give me what I need as a student, right? Because not everyone is going to be a good fit for everyone. Some people need a certain type of teaching or a certain style. I know for myself, had I had some of those harsher teachers in the the beginning that were kind of like, give me XYZ information or sit down, those kinds of really dominant and stomping the ruler and things. That kind of teacher would have never worked for me. I would have shut down. I wouldn't have continued my development, because the moment that I have tension and fear or the pressure, right, I would just shut down. Whereas there's other teachers who are a lot more softer, a lot more wanting to encourage you to discover your own way, right? And I think that's more my style, because I think any kind of tension in mediumship is going to hinder it. There's only so much you can get out of the experience if you're just sitting there all tense. I mean, that's what your energy is doing. Your energy is shutting down. So how are you supposed to connect if your energy is closed? The whole point is to be relaxed so that it's open, right? So very, very simple idea that I think is super important. So that's another way of deepening your connection, is by working with someone who is that. But if you don't have that in your area, you can always do the online thing. I do teach online, so if you want to work with me, you can always do that on Thursdays. I might do it Saturday one too, but Thursdays right now. But also, you can also, see what's around you. What is around? You may not even know that there's really, really great teachers that are around you, and then try it out. That's always important. So I want to, and again, I just definitely have to mention, sitting in the power is the most important thing that you can do in your mediumistic development. Just hands down, it's going to develop you so much better. I do now have a sitting in power meditation available on my website. So if you want to take that, do that. There's also free ones online. So if you want to find those, go find those. So just giving you options of things that you can do, because ultimately I want people to be able to develop. I want them to be able to deepen their spiritual connection. To me, that's the most important thing, is that people have an understanding that this stuff isn't make-believe. This isn't just something we're just playing at. This is not something that we're trying to con or trick people. It's about people discovering their own connection, because it's what we are. We are spirit. So why wouldn't we be able to do this? So anywho, that's my little talk there in the beginning, but I'd love to open up to anyone having any questions, maybe about their own mediumistic development, maybe about questions within things that are happening with them. Anything, really. I mean, honestly, I'll talk about anything. So just want to open up that floor for y'all. Don't be shy. Please feel free to ask anything, because this is your time. This is your time to get any answers of things that you're wondering about with regards to mediumship, experiences that you've had, etc. So I'm now going to be watching for the flood of questions coming in, which usually takes a while, because I think people in the moment, they're like, I have no idea what I want to ask. So just so you know. One of the interesting things that I think is super important when we are developing is learning how does the spirit world connect with us. So for those of you who don't know, the spirit world connects us with different, what we call the clairs. So clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairaudience, which is hearing, clairsentience, which is feeling, which is emotions or sensations, or claircognizance, which is sort of a sense of a knowing. So this is how they actually connect with us. So learning how they connect best with you and working with that first is always a really, really good thing. Sophia asked, can anyone become a medium? I think that everyone has mediumistic potential. I think it's just a matter of how deep within the individual it is. And I don't necessarily think that, I do believe mediumship as a career or as something that you do for other people is a calling. I think that you just feel that compelled, being compelled to do that. I do think that most people can get something mediumistic. It's just a matter of, it's kind of like, learning to play the piano or learning to do anything, pretty much any skill. I think it's just a matter of getting rid of the blocks that you have, the pressures that we put on ourselves. Each person, is going to be their own sort of unique case of how do we unravel the power and the presence that is within each person. I do think that everyone carries with them different gifts of the spirit, Some might be a really great mental medium. Some might be a really great healer. Some might be an amazing trance medium. It's really about opening and giving the spirit the opportunity to unfold for you what your potential is. So I'm not going to say that everyone's necessarily going to be a mental medium out there on the platform and giving messages, but that's also not right for everyone. So it's what is right for you is what we want to discover. And I do believe, since you are a spiritual being and you do have this within you, there is something for you to add to the tapestry of the human experience here. So something to throw out there. So hopefully that answers your question, Sophia. Okay, Tina says, just because we're interested, does that mean we can learn mediumship? How can we know if we should pursue developing our skills? I think you should do it and try it and see if it works, because I know for myself, I didn't know that I was a medium until someone said, you're a medium, you need to start developing. And so for me, had I not had that experience and then actually went to class and tried it out and saw, oh wow, that actually works, I really can do this. Had I not had that experience, I would have probably never done mediumship, at least not in the pathway that I ended up taking. Who knows what the future would have been. But I know for me, if I hadn't tried it, if I hadn't seen what the potential is, and that's also to say, you shouldn't try it just once and say, oh, it didn't work, because it's a development. That's the thing, is like, I think people just assume that mediums are just born and like you come out of the womb and you're talking to dead people. And I'm like, that might be true in a very, very rare sort of, okay, let me see, the connection's going in and out for these people. Hold on one second. Let me try, that's not going to help. I don't know how to fix that, guys, so I'm sorry, because I'm just on the Wi-Fi here. So I'm just going to do my best. You can always rewatch this on the Facebook Live, which I hope is not having a bad connection. So you can always watch this on the Facebook page. So hopefully that works. So as I was saying, oh, right. So just because you don't know yet if you're mediumistic, doesn't mean that it isn't a possibility that it's already there for you and available to you. And then how much work it is going to take for it to actually be usable and come out is just going to depend on the individual and what they're experiencing. So important things to know regarding the mediumship. So not sure that I think you're connecting. Yeah, so my connection is cutting in and out. So I am sorry. That is not good. That is cutting in and out. It's because I'm on this Wi-Fi. Hold on, let me see if I can move closer to where I know Wi-Fi is. Try that. Let me know if that helped. Because now it looks like my Wi-Fi is stronger here in this position. Is that better? How are we now? Are we better? Everything okay? Good? I'm waiting for people to respond, but maybe they can't because of the connection. So let's see. Give me 1 second. Let me know if the connection's better. I don't know because no one's responding. Oh, it's better. Okay. People are saying that it's better. Okay. So that's really good. Hi, Leah. Hi, Johnny. Okay, let me know. Is this working better now, everyone? Everyone? I hope that okay, great, perfect. I just moved closer to where the Wi-Fi was by just sliding my chair back. So note to self, don't be so far from the Wi-Fi. That's too far. Hopefully we got the answer to that question, which is basically the answer, short answer is, crap, I don't remember what the question was. Let me scroll back up. Just because you're interested doesn't mean you can learn mediumship. How can we know if we should pursue it? Try it out. That's my answer to it. Try it, see if that helps, see if it works. Because I wouldn't have known I was a medium unless a medium told me, number one, and then number two, I went and tried it out. Because someone can tell you you're a medium and you go try it out and it doesn't work. But that could just mean this is just the beginning of your development and that you need to unfold all of this. It's very rare that I've ever worked with people who couldn't actually get something, right? And it's a thing that builds. It's not like it just starts suddenly and then you are, unfolding and it's just like boom. I mean, that does happen, but not very often. And usually there's other preceding things that have happened for people that make that experience that way. So maybe they had some other spiritual experiences and practices that just easily transfer over to mediumship. A perfect example, I have a student of mine who is an artist and working sort of in that sort of trance-y, sort of artistic-y sort of space is working with the power, I believe. And so it's very easy if you're working from that sensitive sort of place where you kind of get into the zone. It's actually pretty easy to transfer that sort of lived experience into more mediumistic capacity. So, other questions? Bad connection, no pun intended. That's hilarious. Yes, I realize that some of this is not working as well. Hopefully it improved as I moved myself back, but a lot of people say on Facebook it did. I don't know about on this thing. But here we go. I love that you said bad connection, no pun intended. That's hilarious. I can teach you how to get a better connection with the spirits. I can't teach you how to get a better connection with the internet. That part I don't know. Unless you can just get closer to the router, I don't know. But that is what I am saying here today. If there's other questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I don't know if the connection is so bad from your guys' perspective that it's not working. But if you are having okay connection, you can ask something else because I have a few minutes left. So yeah. Other thoughts, feelings, opinions, words, questions. Hopefully the connection's better. Oh, Lord above. Also, random side note, if you're in another state here in the United States, even if you're in another country, and you want me to come to where you are to do some sort of workshop, demonstration, whatever, let me know, because I can travel and I can go to different places, and that's something I would actually really like to do, is start to kind of move out of this Southern California area exclusively and work in other places. Like I've worked in other countries, like I've worked in England before, and so I would like to do more of this within the United States, especially. So if that's something you're interested in, or you have a way of putting something like that together, please let me know. Let me see here. I find it hard to get to the message part sometimes when giving a reading. Right, so the message part is honestly, in a lot of ways, I think that for some people is harder, especially if you've been really schooled with the evidential side. That can be actually harder to do. Hi, Kayla. You're new here. Hello, hello. So I think it's giving the evidence first, but then as you move to the message will come sort of naturally. It's when we try and we go, okay, like it's when we switch in our awareness of like, I want to figure out what message is here. That's where you're going to get thrown, right? But rather than just, what I always tell students is to just treat it like the same way you would get evidence. So you open your awareness and you just relax into it. What is the impressions that you're getting from spirit? That's what's going to give you the message. So you might start to feel an emotion, you might start to get a picture, you might start to hear something, you might start, and just let that unfold, because the message can be anything. We don't know what the spirit person wants to say. So it's even more important in those moments to really surrender our awareness to the spirit and really let them guide us, right? And just trust it. I always say be flexible with your mediumship when you're going through, when you're in the moment. Just letting each little thing, each little shift that happens, just talk about it. And so whenever I go to the message part, I honestly don't even really have to think about it at this point. It just sort of flows. It's like, okay, they know who this person is. So what would you like to give? What would you like to say? What would you like to, you know what I mean? And you just offer those very open-ended sort of intentions of like, what else, if it's not already there. Right? Usually it's going to already be there and coming through and saying, okay, here, they want you to know about this, da, 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 da. But what you can do is offer those open-ended sort of questions of what else would you like to give, or something along those lines. I hope that helps. So just try to experiment with that with the spirit and see if that works out. I know it works for me, so hopefully it works for you. So definitely you want to be giving the evidence as much as you can, and then if you're moving with it all, if you're letting it all naturally build, the message will very easily come through to the side of it. It's not this like, okay, now I have to give a message thing. It's just sort of something that unfolds very, very easily and very, very naturally. So that's a thing that happens, and it's a part of it all. So something important to remember. Okay, let's see. Can you talk about why in some instances I don't remember the connection I've had during a deep meditation? I'm fully aware of spirit in my meditation, but often forget all that was communicated. Oh, that's so something that happens all the time. But you know what, Johnny, what I would say very much is that trust that whatever you were supposed to receive, you received. If you were meant to remember it, more consciously, then you would. This is just my opinion. I always trust that like whatever it is I come back with is what is a part of it I'm supposed to know. But somewhere within your subconscious, somewhere within your being, you have received whatever information that is there. And so I wouldn't worry too much about needing to get anything specific and coming back with it. Just know that it's there in your subconscious, and when the moment is right, or if it's needed, it's going to be brought to your awareness. The spirit in some ways could be just like almost like planting a seed there in your psyche, so that when the moment comes that you need to know that information, boop, there it is, right? So let's see, hopefully that was helpful. So sorry, the connection keeps going in and out. Trying to reconnect, you keep pausing. Oh, I'm sorry. Definitely check out the Facebook one, even though I know I did that a little bit, but they're saying that that's working better. So apologies on that. Let's see what else. Yes. So what else? This didn't. What's so funny is it didn't do the pausing thing last time I was here. So I don't know why that's different today. I don't know. Any last questions before I let you all go? Because the connection is obviously being ridiculous. And so, yes, let me just see if I read some question here. Nope, you're just telling me all you all are telling me is my bad connection, which is the case today. That's all there is. So I guess I will leave that there. Know that you can work with me on Thursdays online, which is a freaking awesome class. And I'm not just tooting my own horn. Like, I've actually seen a lot of growth with many of my students, which I observed. And I only just started this, 7 weeks ago, something like that. And the growth is really quick, and I'm very, very impressed. So I'm very happy with that. So try to join if you can do that. I will do another free one again, and probably in a couple of months. But for now, it's not very expensive, $20. So come and do a class if you would like. Thank you, Johnny. Lovely to connect with you and all of you, and thank you for all your questions. Again, I'm sorry about the bad connection, but hopefully in the future it won't be. I'm going to get ready because we're going to be starting class here in a little bit. So much love to all of you. Thank you for joining me and all the questions and the attempts to observe what I'm doing. I appreciate it, and you all are wonderful and amazing. I hope that you found something helpful in all of this, and that you just continue to grow in your own spiritual awareness and development, because that's the big important thing, right? Know yourself and love each other, be kind, all of this. So mwah, 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 mwah. To all of you for being here. Thank you so much. You are wonderful, and I appreciate you all. Have a good one.